everyone! It has been a while since I posted a video, and there is good reason for that. We've been keeping a little bit of a secret from everyone, and we are ready to announce that we had a baby. So, I have been pregnant for the last few months, obviously. Just been kind of keeping it a secret. But we are excited to announce that we had a son on August 4th. It has been a very long, confusing, hard journey to get to this point with our baby boy. We also didn't really tell anyone that we were going through IVF. It was kind of just a deeply personal experience, and I didn't want to have the added stress. So we didn't really tell too many people that we were doing that. So, yeah, we are excited to announce that we have a little boy. His name is Beau. And he was born on his due date, just like his sister. So August is an exciting month for us. We have 2 August babies now, and we have our wedding anniversary on the 15th. So for us, it's a very happy month. I'm going to tell you guys our labor and delivery story with Beau because I love hearing other people's labor and delivery stories. I find them super interesting. So if that's something you guys like watching and hearing about, then definitely keep watching this video. So let's start from where it all began. So on August 3rd is when I was scheduled to be induced. And I didn't really want to be induced. I had heard so many horror stories of the contractions and stuff being way more painful than if you went all natural and had spontaneous labor. I had spontaneous labor with my firstborn, and so I've experienced that. So for me to be induced was, well, there was 2 reasons why. One is because I had previous birth trauma from my last pregnancy, my last labor and delivery. I had my daughter, she was sunny side up, which means she was OP, or her head was coming out facing up instead of how it should be facing down, which means that the largest part of her head comes out instead of the smallest. So she did quite a bit of damage to me down there. I ended up breaking my tailbone with her, and I also had a lot of tearing. So, needless to say, recovery with her was absolutely horrendous and extremely painful and terrible. So, I did not want a repeat of experience of that. Second reason is we live over an hour away from our hospital, and the doctor was quite concerned that with the speed of my last labor and the fact that we live so far out, that I was going to accidentally deliver my baby at home or on the side of the road. So we made the decision that we were going to go ahead with an induction. So on August 3rd is when I was scheduled to be induced for the first time. Unfortunately, they didn't have room, and they had too many other inductions happening that day, so they pushed it off until August 4th. So August 4th, we came in on the morning and got to the hospital, got checked into OB triage, and they started the process. So what they started with was this thing called Cervidil, which is basically a type of prostaglandin that helps ripen and soften your cervix in preparation for doing the other induction meds. I was a little bit nervous and discouraged by this because I thought that Cervidil usually takes, it can take a few days sometimes for it to work. So obviously, I didn't want to be pregnant for a few more days. I'm already here. We already have farm sitters lined up. We already have childcare. So I wanted to just get this over with. Let's do this. Well, just my luck. The Cervidil worked way too good on my body, and within 20 minutes I was having back-to-back super intense contractions with no break in between. So the poor nurse who'd went on her lunch break came back and immediately took it out and said that my uterus was going to go into shock if we kept it in. So we kind of sat around waiting for the doctor, trying to come up with a new plan of what my induction was going to look like now. So what they decided to do was decided to admit me and break my water, which also I was a little saddened about because I wanted to have my water break spontaneously. I know it's kind of a silly dream, but that's kind of what I wanted to have happen. I just wanted to experience that again. I had that experience with my daughter, and I just thought it was, I don't know, I just thought it was cool. I know it's silly, but that's what it was. But anyways, we decided, same reason, we've already got childcare and farm sitters lined up. You know what? Let's go ahead and let's just do this. Let's do it. So we got admitted into our delivery room, and we got all settled and comfortable in there. We were waiting for the doctor to come because she was doing other deliveries at the time, and so she was busy. So we were lucky enough that we had time for me to have supper. They brought supper in. It was actually a really decent meal, and I was able to get some energy and a meal in me before we actually started labor. So that was nice. Then the doctor came in and she broke my water, and I had warned the nurse prior to this that with my last pregnancy, after my water broke, things progressed very, very quickly after that. What? What? It's okay. Buddy's fussy. Fussy boy. He's got the hiccups. I'm sure you can hear. Poor guy. Yeah, so I had warned her that things would progress quite quickly if we're going off past history, which they did. 20 minutes after I got my water broke, I started having pretty serious contractions that I could not speak through. They were very painful. With my last pregnancy, I had an epidural because of how painful the contractions were. With her being an OP baby, I never had any break in between them. They were awful. So I had an epidural with that one. But with this one, I was really, really determined not to get an epidural. Reason being, I wanted to not deliver on my back again. I wanted to have the pressure off of my tailbone so that I didn't break it and use gravity to my advantage. So I wanted to be able to try out different positions and be able to move around during labor and all that jazz. So I wanted to try to avoid getting an epidural. I wasn't anti-pain meds, and I was open to getting an epidural if I had to. I just wanted to avoid it. It's kind of more of like a birth vibe rather than a birth plan, I guess. I'm kind of a go with the flow person. So I knew that if plans changed, that's just is what it is. But going into it, I wanted to try to set myself up to have a better labor. So, my plan was that I was going to try out the nitrous oxide or the laughing gas to try to cope with the pain, but honestly, things were progressing just so fast, and I was making out okay with just doing breathing techniques that I was able to go through my labor without any pain meds, and I actually delivered him naturally, which is not what I was planning to do, but it happened, and I'm kind of proud to say that I did do that all on my own. After that, I went from like a 4 to a 7 in like 30 minutes. So my entire labor with him after they broke my water was only 2 hours. And so that was super quick. And the nurse was busy rushing around trying to get the warmer ready, oxygen tubes ready in case we needed them, making sure the doctor was going to be around for delivery because things were progressing super fast. I think my mom had gotten there when I was around 8 or 9 centimeters. She was in the waiting room. But I had a little bit of a lip of cervix left when I was at 9 centimeters, but my body had already kind of started trying to push. It was totally involuntary. I really had no control over it. Sometimes when you're in labor, your body just does things and you have no control over it. I remember the nurse telling me, don't push, you don't want to tear your cervix or make your cervix inflamed, but I just could not help it. So she was trying to use her finger to push that lip of my cervix out of the way, which by the way was excruciatingly painful. Terrible experience, but very soon I was at a 10 anyway, so thank goodness. So I started pushing. I think I pushed for about 10 minutes before I got his head out, and this is where things started going sideways. So I'm just going to put a trigger warning here. So if you're pregnant or you're thinking of becoming pregnant or you don't want to listen to a kind of traumatic delivery story, then I would suggest that you stop watching now or click away or whatever, because it's about to get wild. So after I got his head pushed out, the nurse and the doctor looked at each other and they said, shoulders. And I thought that just meant, oh, okay, yeah, the shoulders are going to be born after the head. Like, why isn't this happening quicker? I remember with my daughter, it was like head was out, shoulders were out. It was just super fast. He was stuck. He had something called a shoulder dystocia, which if you don't know what that is, it means that his shoulders were stuck or trapped behind my pubic bone and he was unable to come out. That, I've learned now, is an emergency situation, and it's an extremely rare labor complication. And it was really scary. All of a sudden, a nurse came in, and she was full on pushing on my stomach with her fist, all of her force, trying to push him out from the inside. Try to get that shoulder unstuck and get him out. Which, by the way, just a reminder, I don't have any pain meds on board at this point. So I was basically crawling up the bed trying to get away from the pain, and it was very excruciating, and it felt like it was lasting forever. I don't think it lasted more than a minute or two, but it felt like forever. So anyways, they finally popped him out. They placed him on my chest for maybe a second, and then immediately took him away and called a code and cut his umbilical cord. And they called a code pink, which means he wasn't breathing. He looked super pale. He was blue, and he wasn't crying. I looked at my husband. I remember looking him in the eye. I didn't say anything, but I started crying. And I was terrified because I thought that our baby was going to die or that he wasn't alive. And it was just such a long, long journey to get here, to even get pregnant in the first place. And then a long journey of being pregnant with him. And I was just scared it was all for nothing and that we were going to lose our son. It was terrifying. And all he could do was look at me in shock, like, there's nothing I can do. I don't know what to do. I'm sorry. Yeah. Meanwhile, after they called the code pink, there was a whole bunch of people that came pouring into our room. There was like surgeons, the NICU team, other nurses, the pediatrician. They all came pouring into the room, trying to work on him and get him breathing. At that point, his heart was beating, but he just wasn't breathing. I don't think it took very long for them to actually get him breathing, so we're very, very thankful for that. But in the midst of all that, while they're trying to get him breathing, I have nurses on either side of the bed trying to give me updates on what's going on with him and that he's going to be okay and trying to tell me what's going on. But I cannot focus on it because I am hemorrhaging. And I also have a team working on me trying to get my bleeding to stop. And what they're doing is using their full force, basically kind of similar to what they did with the shoulder dystocia. They are giving me a fundal massage, which is not fun. I don't know if you've ever had that, but it's very painful. I was, again, crawling up the bed. I was yelling at them. I was telling them to stop. It was awful. And at some point, between all the chaos and commotion in the room, my main nurse that had been looking after me the entire delivery stopped and looked at me in the eye and said, "You need to let them do this. You're going to bleed to death if you do not let them do this. You need to sit still and let them get your bleeding under control, or you're going to die." That was terrifying. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, so that was a lot of things going on at once, and I feel terrible for Cole having to watch it all go down and not being able to do anything about it. Very scary situation for sure. Luckily, within 30 minutes, he was completely breathing on his own. He was completely fine. He was crying. They put him on my chest. I had skin to skin. He was perfectly healthy, perfectly normal, and doing all the things a baby should do when they're born. So thank goodness for that. I'm so thankful for our amazing doctors and nurses that we had there, especially our nurse Leah. She was so, so good. She took charge. She was the boss of the room for sure. She had no nonsense attitude, and she didn't put up with any shit. And she made sure that I knew what was going on and that I was informed and well taken care of. So we are very thankful for her, and of course all the rest of the team and stuff that got our baby breathing. And he is doing so good now. He's super healthy. He's not sleeping very well at night, so we're kind of like team no sleep over here. But otherwise, he's doing amazing, and we are so, so thankful to have our baby boy home after our very long journey to get him here. It's been an amazing experience to have our new little boy and to watch Stella become a big sister and to grow our family by one more. Now we have one of each, and I am so very thankful and lucky and feeling super blessed that we get to have 2 amazing, beautiful biological children of our own. It's been so cool to see Cole become a dad again and to experience fresh new motherhood again. We are very happy to have our baby home. He's a joy, and we are very full with love watching him and hanging out with him. So thank you guys for watching our labor and delivery story. I hope it didn't scare you, and I hope that you understand why now, that maybe we're a little bit slacking on the videos this past year or so because we've been going through a lot. We spent about 1.5 years going through the actual IVF process, and then we spent like an entire pregnancy growing this other human. So it's been a long time coming, and we've had a lot going on, so that is why we've been not putting out as many videos and not putting out as much content as we normally would. But we appreciate you guys and all your patience, and I will be making a separate video on our IVF journey because that warrants a whole other video in itself, of course. Anyways, somebody's getting mad, so I'm gonna let you guys go. Take care. Thanks again for watching.